Welcome to today's deep dive. You're stepping into a world today that is equal parts dazzling, grueling, and absolutely fueled by sheer, unfiltered passion.
Yeah, that's definitely the right way to put it.
Right. We are talking about the regional professional wrestling circuit. You already know the massive stadium shows you see on television, the pyrotechnics, the global superstars with merchandise empires.
The stuff everyone knows.
Exactly. But beneath all that corporate glitz is a foundation built on local armories, freezing cold road trips, and hometown heroes who bleed for their craft just to get a reaction from a few hundred people.
It's a completely different reality.
It really is. And our source material today is the Wikipedia page of a man who lived and breathed that exact reality, John Cosman. He dominated the Western Canadian independent circuit for decades. By the time we're done here, you're going to intimately understand the man behind his legendary in-ring alter ego.
Principal Richard Pound.
Principal Richard Pound.
Our mission for you today is to trace the complete life cycle of a true territory wrestling pillar. We're going to follow his journey from a starry-eyed kid in the crowd with his dad all the way to a dominant heel holding championship gold.
Yeah.
Cosman's story is a masterclass in career reinvention. It exposes the grinding, unglamorous reality of the business, and it highlights the immense power of local networking. We want you to see exactly how a lasting wrestling persona is built from scratch.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
We need to set the scene in Regina, Saskatchewan. This is throughout the 1970s and early 80s. Cosman wasn't born into a wrestling dynasty.
No, not at all.
He was a fan. Super fan. He spent his youth attending local house shows with his father, just soaking in that visceral atmosphere. You know the vibe.
Oh, absolutely.
The smell of the popcorn, the echo of the mat slamming in a small arena, the heat of a local crowd. He was mesmerized by it. And he wanted to cross over that guardrail and do it himself.
And making that leap from the grandstands to the locker room during that era was notoriously difficult.
It was basically a closed society.
Right, completely. The business was heavily gatekept. Outsiders were viewed with extreme suspicion. You needed to trust it in. And for Cosman, that entry point arrived in 1984, but it didn't come from a promoter.
Right.
And it didn't come from a veteran worker. It came through a wrestling photographer named Bob Leonard.
That seems like an unconventional key to the kingdom, honestly. How does befriending a ringside photographer actually get you a ticket into the locker room?
Well, what's fascinating here is the unique ecosystem of the kayfabe era. In the 1980s, protecting the business was paramount.
Right. Maintaining the illusion at all costs.
Exactly. But a photographer like Bob Leonard was a rare exception to the outsider rule. He was a constant fixture at ringside. He was trusted by the boys in the back. He understood the unwritten rules of the locker room. And most importantly, he had the ear of the veterans.
Ah, so he had social capital.
Tons of it. Leonard vouched for Cosman. And that endorsement was absolute gold. It earned him an introduction to the legendary Archie Gouldie.
And Gouldie takes him on, and they don't mess around at all.
Wow.
Cosman goes through 6 intense months of training under him. Just brutal foundational work.
It's not glamorous.
Not even a little bit. Taking bumps until your spine aches, running the ropes until your back is bruised, learning the mechanics of actually calling a match in the ring. It all leads to his 1985 debut in Stampede Wrestling.
But getting your foot in the door is just step one. Once he debuted, Cosman immediately entered his dues-paying phase.
Time to hit the road.
Yeah, he hits the road, touring the Maritimes with Emile Dupree's Grand Prix Wrestling.
The Maritimes tour is infamous for being an absolute crucible.
Oh, it's notorious.
He's traveling with his trainer Archie Gouldie and Leo Burke, working under the early ring name Danny Young.
It is the ultimate grind. You are looking at endless highway, driving across eastern Canada, performing in a different small town every single night.
And we're talking about the 80s here.
Exactly. You are dealing with varying ring conditions, navigating pure exhaustion, and learning how to read wildly different crowds on the fly. It forces a worker to figure out exactly who they are in the ring.
Trial by fire.
Literally. He even ventured down to the United States to work the Texas territory for Joe Blanchard. It's that classic territory-era hustle, chasing the work, learning different regional styles, and building a repertoire.
His roots were always in Canada, though. He eventually anchors himself back in Stampede Wrestling for a solid 5-year run.
A hometown promotion.
Yeah, he's mixing it up with guys like Kerry Brown, building his reputation, working stiff programs. He's literally living his childhood dream, working for the very promotion he watched as a kid with his dad.
It's a great story.
It is, until 1990, when the entire landscape shifts.
Right. Stampede Wrestling closes its doors. The traditional territory system was collapsing everywhere under the weight of national television expansion.
The big leagues were just eating up the territories.
They were. And when your home promotion folds, the reality of the independent grind hits incredibly hard.
The spotlight turns off. And Cosman actually retires.
Yeah.
He steps away from the ring and takes a job working as a security guard.
I want you to really sit with that psychological pivot for a second.
It's heavy.
One week, you are Danny Young, working a hot program with Carrie Brown in front of screaming fans who are living and dying by your every move. The adrenaline rush is unmatched.
You're a local superhero.
Or villain.
Right. And the next week, you are standing in a quiet hallway in a security uniform. It highlights the profound financial and emotional precariousness of the wrestling business. The incredibly specific skills you master in the squared circle do not easily translate to a standard 9-to-5 resume.
It has to be maddening. You know, the itch never really goes away.
It rarely does for the lifers.
He tried to dip his toes back in around 1995. He partnered with a worker named Venom, and they spent 3 months training a new crop of guys for the Prairie Wrestling Alliance.
A noble effort to give back.
It was. But the promoter ultimately just pulls the plug before the promotion even gets off the ground. That's a heartbreaking indie wrestling reality right there. Promises are made, funding dries up, and the workers are left holding the bag.
It's tough.
But a true territory guy rarely stays away forever. By 1997, Wild West Wrestling starts running towns in Saskatchewan, and Cosman is drawn right back into the orbit.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because his return sparks one of the most brilliant creative summits I've ever heard of.
It's a great moment.
It's 1997. The World Wrestling Federation is running a house show in Regina. Cosman is backstage, and he sits down to brainstorm a brand new persona with the specific goal of securing a WWF tryout.
The Holy Grail.
Right. And look at the minds in this room. It's Cosman, his old friend Bob Leonard, Bruce Hart, and Owen Hart.
That is an incredible gathering of wrestling intellect, just a massive amount of psychology in one room.
I can only imagine the pitches bouncing off the walls.
They recognized that pure work rate wasn't going to turn heads in the late 90s WWF. You needed a gimmick with teeth. You needed a character that instantly provoked a visceral reaction from the crowd.
You needed a character that people wanted to see get beat up.
Exactly. They even pitched the resulting concept to Jim Cornette, who was heavily involved in WWF creative at the time.
And they spend the next couple of years refining it. So when Stampede Wrestling resurrects itself in 1999, John Cosman doesn't just return.
No, he doesn't.
He walks through the curtain as Principal Richard Pound, the tyrannical heel leader of a faction called the Honor Roll.
As a heel gimmick, it is psychologically bulletproof.
It's brilliant.
Think about the mechanics of generating heat. A principle represents absolute, unquestionable authority. It taps into every fan's latent childhood resentment of arbitrary rules and strict discipline.
Everyone had that one principle they couldn't stand.
Right. So the moment he steps out, demanding silence, scolding the announcer, or threatening detention, the crowd's instinct is pure rebellion.
It's so visceral.
It provides the babyfaces with the perfect authoritarian regime to topple. It's a masterclass in working a crowd without having to take a single bump.
And the heat was immediate. The fans absolutely despised him, which means the character was a massive success right out of the gate.
A home run.
He takes this momentum straight to the top of the card. In November 1999, he's in Calgary for a three-way dance against Tiger Khan and Greg Pollock. He wins, walking out as the Stampede British Commonwealth mid-heavyweight champion.
Which is a highly significant title.
Huge.
He was the first person to hold that specific belt since Stampede had previously closed a decade earlier. He essentially became the standard bearer for the promotion's revival.
He wasn't done collecting hardware either. By April 2000, he's beating Tatanka.
Tatanka?
Yeah, a worker with major international TV exposure. He beats him to win the Stampede North American Heavyweight Championship. He is operating at his absolute peak, dripping in championship gold.
But staying at the summit indefinitely is impossible in this business. The belts are narrative devices, and they have to move to keep the territory fresh.
The story has to keep moving.
Always. By June 2000, he drops the mid-heavyweight title to Tiger Mahatma Khan. That one stings particularly hard because the winner earned a high-profile match against Sabu.
Oh, man.
Yeah, missing out on working with an extreme icon like Sabu is a tough pill to swallow for any worker.
And then the North American heavyweight title goes next. In April 2001, he loses it to Bruce Hart.
his old brainstorming partner.
The very guy who sat in that backstage room and helped him create the principal character.
That's the poetry of the business. You build a monster together, and then you tear it down together for the fans.
It's a beautiful thing.
But even as the local titles shifted, that ambition from the 1997 brainstorm was still burning. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to admire the relentless drive it takes to maintain your spot at the top of a territory while constantly angling for a look from the global leagues.
He was getting agonizingly close, too. May 2001, the WWF is in Alberta broadcasting Monday Night Raw. Cosman is backstage mingling with guys like Wildman Gary Williams.
Just being in that environment is huge.
He doesn't get put on TV that night, but the networking pays off. The WWF invites him to an official tryout match in the Tacoma and Seattle area the very next month in June.
Securing that tryout is a massive validation of his work. It proves he was firmly on the radar of the largest promotion in the world.
The hard work paying off.
And later that summer, in August, his reputation earns him a spot representing Stampede at the Brian Pillman Memorial Show in Cincinnati.
That was a hugely respected interpromotional event. Working in front of the boys, honoring Pillman, he wrestles an East Coast Wrestling Association veteran, J.R. Ryder.
Right.
He doesn't get his hand raised, but simply being booked on that card speaks volumes.
It absolutely does. It shows that even without national TV exposure, his peers across the industry knew exactly who Principal Richard Pound was.
He was a known entity.
He was navigating the very edge of the big time. By early 2002, he was even negotiating a UK tour with Wrestle Express. He was determined to keep his momentum going, proving that a regional talent could command international respect.
And he kept that hustle alive well into what we might call his twilight years in the ring. Around 2005, he steps away from Stampede and starts taking bookings across Western Canada.
Staying busy.
He eventually becomes the veteran anchor for High Impact Wrestling Canada, HIW, right back in Regina where it all started.
Returning to his hometown territory allowed him to really lean into the kind of wild, localized storytelling that makes independent wrestling so deeply beloved by its diehard fans.
You want wild storytelling. Look at what happens in March 2006. He's booked in a 2-night program with the legendary Honky Tonk Man.
That's incredible.
Night 1 is a tag match. Cosman and his partner Todd Myers take the loss against Big Daddy Cash and Honky.
Sitting the stage.
Night 2 is the payoff singles match. Principal Richard Pound versus the Honky Tonk Man.
A classic old-school booking.
Cosman takes the loss again, but it's the finish that makes it legendary. He loses because of outside interference from a heel manager.
Yeah.
And that manager,
Tell him.
Bob Leonard.
The layers of irony there are just spectacular.
Think about it. The man who vouched for him in 1984. The man who got him into the business. The guy sitting in the room when they created the principal gimmick. Is now the on-screen villain executing a run-in to cost him a marquee match 22 years later.
It perfectly illustrates the brilliant blurring of reality and kayfabe. They leveraged a legitimate, decades-long brotherhood, twisted it into a betrayal narrative, and gave the Regina fans an incredibly memorable finish.
It's so good.
That requires immense trust between two performers. You only do that kind of angle with someone you consider family.
It's pure magic. And his commitment to the region extended way beyond the ring itself.
He was everywhere.
The very next month, April 2006, he travels to Memramcook, New Brunswick.
Okay.
He's attending a recognition night banquet for the Cormier Wrestling Brothers.
Yeah.
But get this set up, the event also doubles as a bluegrass music festival.
And Andy.
A fundraiser for the local volunteer fire department.
That is the quintessential grassroots experience right there.
Right.
It highlights how deeply integrated these workers were in their communities. It wasn't just a gig, it was a lifestyle. You've got wrestling veterans like Rick Martel and Emile Dupre eating dinner to the sound of banjos to help buy fire equipment.
You simply don't get that level of community fabric in the corporate leagues.
No, you don't. It is a wildly specific subculture.
He stayed in the thick of it for years, winning the Pile O' Bones Rumble in 2009, outlasting 29 other guys in his hometown.
Incredible stamina.
But the bump card eventually fills up. The physical toll is undeniable. In October 2013, he works his final match against a longtime rival named King Cash. Shortly after, illness forced him into an unexpected retirement.
A forced exit is always a bitter pill for a worker. When your body or your health makes the decision for you, it leaves a lot of unresolved emotion.
It'd have to be incredibly tough to process.
But the industry makes sure he got his flowers while he was still around to appreciate them. In 2014, the Cauliflower Alley Club, which is a highly prestigious fraternal organization for wrestlers, honored him with their Men's Wrestling Award.
A huge honor from his peers.
And in October 2015, HIW officially inducted him into their Hall of Fame at the Monster Brawl event in Regina.
And his inductor, Bob Leonard.
Wow.
Bringing the entire journey completely full circle. It's incredibly poetic. John Cosman sadly passed away a year later on November 28, 2016, at just 52 years old.
Far too young.
Far too young. So what does this all mean? When you look at the journey from a fan in the Regina grandstands to the despised principal Richard Pound, it's a testament to unyielding dedication. I want you to really think about the passion it takes to grind in that regional circuit.
It takes a special kind of person.
The humility to take those first agonizing bumps in freezing maritime arenas. The quiet resilience to put on a security uniform when the promotion folds, keeping the fire alive in the dark. And the sheer creative genius to sit down with your friends and reinvent yourself into a character that makes people buy a ticket just to yell at you.
Success in this business isn't exclusively measured by WrestleMania main events or global merchandising deals. Sometimes, true success is becoming the absolute, undisputed pillar of your own territory.
I completely agree.
John Cosman was a champion, a locker room leader, and a hometown legend who kept the local scene breathing for decades. And this raises an important question for you to consider as we wrap up today's deep dive.
Lay it on us.
Think about the entertainment, the arts, or the industries you consume daily. We always celebrate the billionaires and the megastars at the very top. But how much of that massive industry's foundation is actually built on the backs of thousands of local, dedicated Principal Richard Pounds, the unsung regional heroes who keep the art form alive in their hometowns when the cameras aren't rolling?
That is a fascinating thread to pull on. It really makes you appreciate the local guys in every field.
Exactly.
We want to thank you so much for joining us to explore the incredible life and legacy of John Cosman. We hope you enjoyed this journey through the trenches of the squared circle.
Thanks for listening.
Until next time, keep digging deeper, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.